Alright, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how to check in and check out a student in regards to the room change process. It is kind of a complex process, but if you break it down into steps and scenarios, I think it will make sense. So theoretically, you could be the same person doing the checkout and then checking them in. Maybe they're just moving down the wing from one room to the next room, right? Or it could be they checked out of a building across campus with a different RA, and now they're coming to you and only doing the check-in part. So we're really going to focus pretty heavily on the check-in part today, but just as a reminder, the check-out video is appropriate to watch for the check-out process, but you would literally come to the RCR check-in, check-out. You would go to the check-out little section and find the appropriate one, or you'll only see the one for your area. You would do the RCR and the check-out for that student and proceed through the check-out process. So now it's a room change and you want to do the check-in part. So we need to figure out first for the check-in for a room change if a form is there ready and waiting or prepared for the student or not. So you have two scenarios, right, where you could say I want the form to be ready for the student before they come, or I don't have time to do that. For example, I'm going to do the check-in and the form all at once the student checks in. But first you're going to want to see if a form is already created, because you don't want to, or it won't let you, the computer won't let you create another one if there's already one there. So I'm going to go to my RCR list RA, and I'm going to look for the room that I want to check the student in for. So if I said I'm looking to check the student into 0221A and I say show me list, you can see there isn't one, and so I would be ready and comfortable saying, okay, I have to decide how I'm going to create one, and we'll get to that in a second. But what if I go to the room and I just say, okay, for intensive purposes here, I'm just going to pick a building and a room. Let's just say I was checking in a student to the Governor's 124B. I can see a form was created and it's sitting here ready and waiting to get picked up. Theoretically, it's September 15th. That room was empty from check-in until now. No one has been in that room for this semester, and so this form was created over summer waiting to be picked up. This probably will happen more in the beginning of this fall semester, and then as we get into fall semester into spring semester, there'll never be a form just sitting here waiting. But our first step should always be to check and make sure that something didn't happen and that for some reason there's a form sitting here waiting to get picked up. So I would say, oh, there is a form waiting to get picked up. The form should say staff status approved and student status pending, right? Because I, the RA, over the summer went through and approved all of these. So for our test process, please think about that and remember that it should say staff status approved, student status pending before you check a student in. And I can see right here that there's no student attached to this. So I need to then know that this and review this effective date. So this effective date is what the computer uses to associate the student with the room condition report. So when this one was created back over summer, the effective date was put into the move-in day for when a student moved in. However, in our scenario, the student is now going to check in on September 15th. So I need to go here, click that little button to the left, then click Actions for Selected, and I need to update the inspection. I need to change the effective day to match the day that the student is moving in. And not just their move-in day, but actually when their room assignment starts in the computer. So if there is a discrepancy and the hall director told the student that they could check in on the September 15th, but now the student wants to check in on the 14th or the 16th, this isn't going to work. The student has to check in, or we have to have the system match that the booking or the assignment date and the effective date for their room condition report have to match. So if we just say, yep, the student is going to do what they originally said, they're going to check in on the 15th, I would run this operation and it would change this effective date to September 15th, and now I could check the student in for that day. So now that I've done that, I've confirmed my effective date and I know that it matches. I can see the staff status is approved and I can see the student status is pending. This form is ready to get picked up. So now I go to check the student in. First one step is I check in only, and I walk them through the template to check them in, hand out their keys, and get their check-in date populated. Second step then is I go to the RCR check-in, check-out. I go to my RCR list RA. I find the room that I'm looking for. Again, in our scenario, it's Governor's 124. I open the form up. I run operation. I talk with the student and document with them all the things that have been issues. So this thing, the recycling bin was missing. If this was the way it was when I checked them in, I would tell them I would follow up, and I might come back and update this once it is no longer missing and one has been put in that room, and I can verify that. But you document with the student, talk through, let them have the opportunity to provide you feedback. You look around the room and make any documentation. When you're ready, you say, yep, student approves, staff approves. I'm going to associate this Taylor Wicks, that's who I'm checking in today, and I'm going to save. So now you have checked the student in officially, and distributed and logged their keys, and you have tied them to their room condition report. So you're done. That, again, that was the scenario of there was already a form created. But what if there isn't a form created? Like we just said a minute ago, that Oak Ridge room 121, there was no room condition report created. Then what do I do? How do I create a new one and get it ready? So we talked about there's two options, right? I can create it before the student arrives, or I can say don't have time to do that, I can't get into that room, I'm going to do it, the check-in and the room condition report all at the same time when the student comes. So that first one is the RCR room change without student, okay? Again, I'm in my RCR check-in, check-out bucket. I'm going to go into this room change RCR section, and I'm going to do it without the student. So here, room change without the student. I can find the room that I'm looking for, again, using the living area picker here. I'm going to go down all the way down the level to find the bed space that I'm looking for. I'm going to go down to find A, that's what I'm doing, show me list. And bed space only, please. Yes, I want to create a form for this guy. I'm going to create the form, document, and I'm going to save. And then I'm going to go back to my RCR list array. I'm going to find it, and I'll tell you why. You have to do that. Because now you can see it was created on 8/20, and the effective date is 8/20. But for example, I know that my student isn't going to check in until 9/12. So I have to change that effective date again to match the student's check-in date so that it knows to associate the student who is booked on 8/12 in that room. If I said 8/20, there's no student booked on 8/20, so it doesn't know to associate anybody with that room condition report. I change the effective date, I run the operation, click OK. Great, now it's effective date 9/12. I probably should actually also make this staff pending, or staff approved, right? I forgot to do that. So yes, I say this is staff approved. It's not student approved yet because I haven't walked the student through it yet. Now I have the form ready to go. Great, I'm ready for this student to come. 9/12 is the effective date, and that's the day they're checking in, and it's staff approved, student pending. Student comes on 9/12 to check in. I go into the check-in only bucket. I check the student in. When I finally finish that and I distribute all the keys, I go to my RCR check-in, check-out. I gotta now associate the student with the room condition report, go back to my list, find the room, open up the form, run operation, talk with the student about everything that you have documented. Again, allow them the opportunity to make comments. When you're ready, you associate the student, you say student approved, and you click save. You've checked the student in, you've associated with them with their room condition report. Now give me a minute here because I have to set this up and kind of circumvent our process here. So now the scenario I'm going to walk you through in a second is that the student, I wasn't able to create the form beforehand. I have to do the room condition report and the check-in all at the same time. You can ignore all this. This is just me setting it up for us. Okay, so now I'm going to say I'm going to do the check-in and the room condition report all at the same time. I'm just going to do it when the student gets here. So then I'm going to go to the RCR check-in, check-out, and I'm going to do the check-in, and I'm going to say, yep, I'm going to do the room condition report and check the student in with the student. See how this one says with the student? This is a room change without the student, getting it ready before they come. So if I do it with the student, I'm going to test my test student and check them into their room. I can see that they were in Oak Ridge from 8:31 to 9:12, and then they're moving to 21 in the basement from 9:12 to 9:20 for the rest of the semester, and I'm trying to check them in here to their new room on 9:12. So I'm going to then write, I need to change this to 9:12 because that's the day that they're checking in. The time isn't very crucial, but you can, and try to be as accurate, I guess, as you can, that the student checked in at whatever time. Okay, and then press done. Mailbox keys. Are you distributing those mailbox keys now? And if you are, you need to document that. You might see data here from their previous room, and it is okay to delete that and overwrite that with the new information. So I would say 9/12 that the student is now receiving their mailbox keys for this room. You might see a return date from their old room, and you can leave that there, but then enter their mailbox code and it's checked out to the student now. Next. And there's the room condition report. So now I'm creating it with them. I'm walking around the room and documenting it as they are documenting and providing me some feedback on what's going on in their room. When I'm ready, I'm going to say staff approved, student approved. Because I'm already logged in this student, you can see up here on the right hand side, I can already see the student. It's going to associate the student for me automatically. I don't have to click that associated button. It knows the effective date is today because I am running this all at the same time on my check-in date. And I put finish, and now I have created, I guess I can do that in this scenario. So now if I go back to my RCR list array, and I look at that, there it is, my Oak Ridge 21, it was created on 8/20 with the effective date of 9/12/12, and it's approved, and now the housing office is associated with it. Okay, so that's the 3 steps in kind of the paths that you have to decide which one is most appropriate given your situation for a room change. Just ask yourself, have I checked to see if a form is there ready to be picked up? If it is, then what is the effective date? Does it match this check-in date? And then do I have to update that? Then I'm going to check the student in and associate the room condition report with them. Am I going to create the form prior to their arrival because one's not ready? Or am I going to do it when they arrive with them? So hopefully that's helpful. If you do have questions, again, talk to your hall director or reach out to me. You certainly can do that at any time, and I will certainly help you through this process. But watch this video as much as you can to get down the steps. And once you start doing it, I think you'll understand and feel that it's comfortable with it. It isn't as cumbersome as it looks at first glance. It will make sense the more you do it. Thanks.